And there's nothing more frustrating for me, Rick, and Michelle than to know the work that we've been doing, that you folks have been doing by getting us information, by helping this team approach. It's nothing more frustrating than to see the progress we're making, but not seeing it in the media. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges we've had since we've been elected, but I want to focus on the successes that we've had since we've been elected. So the challenges are clear. And I remember talking to a couple MLAs from my riding. One was a Liberal, Eugene McGinley. Eugene's a great guy. He comes from kind of the old school, the old school Liberal Party, not the Liberal Party of today that's in a complete mess, but the old school kind of Liberal Party. And Eugene's a good guy, and Eugene, we'd have some pretty candid conversations with me being in politics, and he was always very open to, kind of say what he thought and all that sort of thing. And he'd been in it for so long, kind of getting information from him. And another one was Dave Jordan. He was a PC MLA in my riding, and I had some talks with David over the years too. And I remember them saying how when they were first elected, they would go in the legislature, and for the first couple of weeks, they didn't even quite sure where to sit. Right? It was just such a brand new experience, the whole procedures, the traditions, the policies, the ideas. And I remember talking to these gentlemen that have been in politics for a while say, so you guys that are newly elected, you get in the legislature and you're confused, but yet you had these traditional parties of support that it's not the first time the PC's been elected, not the first time the Liberals been elected, that's what we've had for over 100 years. So that infrastructure was there, even though the MLAs were new, the parties have been around for years, so they had the support structure. And I can tell you the challenge, one of the biggest challenges we've had is we're not just 3 new MLAs, we're a brand new party in the legislature. So, you want to talk politics, I can talk politics all night. I can discuss about what's good, what's not good, policies, ideological thinking, the philosophical thinking of politics and what I believe and my passion on. We can discuss all of that. And I feel like I'm confident in that. But I'll tell you what, when you walk in the legislature and you have no idea where you're sitting, you've got to, kind of scramble to get in. When we first get in there, they had us in what they call an ante-room. So it's an office off the floor of the legislature. So when debates are going on, you can actually get up, take your members out to this ante-room, discuss whatever the motion or bill is or debate is, and then come back in and kind of have a coordinated approach. And in these ante-rooms, they had 3 rooms in kind of a hallway. So we were in the first room, which means the Liberals and the Greens had to go through our office to get to their rooms. Seriously. Not only that, whenever people came, we also had the coat check in our office. So visitors would come in, they'd be putting their coat in, we're talking about a bill whether we should support it or not. So you can imagine the dynamics of that. So we had to fight with that. So this is unacceptable. This isn't going to work. And we had discussions with the government. And I said to the Premier, and this was after we supported them, I said, I think you owe me a favor. And I said, the first favor I'd like to have is to get me out of that ante-room and get me on the other side of the House. Which he did. So we moved it around. They now have us on the government side of the House with our own private ante-room where we wouldn't have private discussions. And it also gives us opportunities to be face-to-face with ministers on a regular basis. What you see, anybody watch the proceedings in the legislature? Really? Okay. I better start behaving myself.
Stay off Facebook.
Stay off Facebook. The proceedings that you see in the legislature, with questions, and somebody was asking me a while back, she said, well, we don't see you talk a lot in the legislature. Let me explain to you how this works. It's based on proportion of seats. We get 3 seats of 49, which isn't a lot. Was it 22 Minutes did the article back in the fall after the election on the Game of Thrones thing? Did you guys see that?
Yes.
And they said, we're only 3, but we're mighty. And we are. But we get 3 seats of 49. So what you don't see when you're watching the proceedings is up on the walls of all around us, there's clocks. And when we get up to speak, Rick, Michelle, and I, we each have 1 minute to give a statement, and we each have, well, not each, between the three of us, we have 1 minute for one question and 1 minute for a second question. That's it. So, if you're wondering why we're not, believe me, there are times when I'm hearing the debate going back and forth between red and blue that I just say to myself, I turn around to Rick and I say, I would love to get in the middle of this right now. But with the proceedings of the legislature, with the tradition, the rules that I understand, it's the way it works, you've got to look at that clock. And I've seen any one of us, any 49 of us, you go over that 1 minute mark, you're 1 minute two, the speaker stands up, your mic's cut off, you're done. That's the way it works. So I want to just make sure people understand the proceedings of the legislature. We talk about committee. There's been significant changes in the committee just by the makeup of the legislature. The way it used to work in a majority government, whichever party was in power controlled the legislature. You know, the proceedings, the questions, the opposition back and forth, bills being passed, the majority party would control the power of the legislature. The same used to be true in committees. So committees is where we would really dig deep. If there was a bill presented, a motion, if there was whatever issues, that come up, the committees is where you dig into the ask questions, and you'd spend hours and hours and hours in committee work. And you don't see that, but it happens a lot. There's several committees. There's only three of us, and we got to fill all the committees. These guys got 20-some people to fill the committees, and the three of us are trying to do all these committees and get all these issues. So it's challenging. But the makeup of the committee is different. Because the government, the PC party, doesn't have a majority in the legislature. They also do not have a majority in committees. So before, committees were just whatever, right? I mean, think about it. If you're putting forward a bill, a committee's just a rubber stamp. You go into committee, you've got the majority of the seats. The opposition will ask you a few questions. You can answer them, you can blow them off, you can do whatever you want because you know your bill's going to pass because you've got the majority. It's not that way anymore. Now when you go to committee, they need to convince people. They actually got to persuade people that this motion is good. They got to persuade people that this is a good bill. You know, there's got to be some power of reasoning that goes behind it. There's more grit that goes on behind the scenes. I'm telling you folks, that being on the outside before and being on the inside now, I can tell you there's massive changes that legislature has seen. I remember the first time we were in the legislature in the fall, I went up to the clerk and the assistant clerk, and they've been fantastic. I will say that the folks in that legislature have been amazing in helping us get through all the policies and rules and all of that. But I remember asking them, I said, well, I can't remember what it was about, if it was committees or some thing that I was asking about a bill. I said, well, how does this work? You know, we presented what happens. He looked at me and said, I haven't been here for 100 years and it's a minority government. I don't know. That was his answer. And he kind of smiled, right? And the idea is, everybody was learning. Because it's a minority government. We've never seen this before. They've never seen this before. They're used to majority governments. They just go in and whatever, take the notes and answer and all this sort of thing. But now it's a whole different ballgame. And it's a really good ballgame because it's an opportunity where we can get things done that we want to see done. So one thing I can say, one thing I determined when we were elected, I didn't get into this gig to sit on a back bench and do nothing. I didn't get into this just to be a mouthpiece in a legislature. I got into this, you folks supported us, the people of 48,000 people voted for us, not to just be in a backroom seat somewhere to do nothing. You voted for us to do change, to make an impact in the province. And I determined last fall that we are going to have an impact in this province. I'm not going to sit in perpetual opposition just because that's the political thing to do. I'm going to do what I can do to get as many of our agenda items pushed forward so that we can see results and that we can see change. And I'm going to tell you some of the results that we've had because they took some time just to go through our platform. Last fall, as you all know, we had a platform, a campaign that we went on, that we pushed, the change that we wanted to see. So the first item that was in our platform was a return to fiscal balance. For decades, governments, both liberal and conservative alike, have run huge deficits and have not seen a surplus in over a decade. This minority government, which our 3 members voted in favor of, brought the fiscal balance back to New Brunswick. We brought fiscal balance back to New Brunswick. For the first time, we're no longer borrowing money, and for the first time in over a decade, we're paying off debt. People say, well, the Conservatives did that. They couldn't have done it without us, right? The Greens didn't support that, the Liberals didn't support that, and if we hadn't supported it, it wouldn't have happened. So we supported that because that is what we believe in, and that is what we accomplished. The Auditor General, anybody see the latest report of the Auditor General? Isn't that wild? I look at her past reports and the work that she does. She always has a mandate or a direction to find inefficiencies within government. You know, she goes to government departments, she looks at government programs, and she says, this is working, this isn't working, and some of it it's critically important, but a lot of it is just about policies and ideas and making sure the government's held accountable, but it's kind of your housekeeping, right? But every once in a while, the Auditor General will put out a report that goes far beyond just inefficiencies, that goes far beyond just a lack of success in programs, but it really gets to the heart of how scandalous things can be, and how governments can make decisions that violate the very laws that they implement. I can think of ATCON, right? And I know that's an old one we keep digging up, but it's still there, $70+ million, and the Auditor General went after it hard, and good for her. And she went to the previous government and said, I need more money to do a more thorough investigation of ATCON. They refused to give her the money, and she didn't care anyway. She did it anyway and handed them the bill when she's done. That's what you want in the problem. So the latest report, and I encourage you all to read it. I know sometimes you think reading this government stuff can put you to sleep, but this is important stuff and it's good information. But she talked about the deal to St. John, right? The $28 million deal that the former government gave to St. John. They broke 2 laws in doing that. The government broke 2 laws when they did that. Not to mention all the other moving parts and pieces that they completely ignored to literally buy votes. In the report, the Auditor General talks about obstruction. The Auditor General has authority to do investigations in these departments. Her job is to investigate when things go wrong and to investigate programs and decisions. So when she goes in to investigate these programs, when she goes in to investigate that deal for St. John, she's obstructed time and time again, asking for documents not being given, asking for files, emails, whatever, things not being accounted for. So we're talking about making a bad decision and then trying to cover up a bad decision, right? So she talked, let me clarify, because I do not want to misquote the Auditor General. She called it potential obstruction. She has to be careful too. Potential obstruction. But when you look at the report and what she says, it's some damning stuff that we see in that. So I tell you all of that about the Auditor General because if you remember last campaign, I went around this province in town halls and I tried to highlight to the best of my ability the importance of the Auditor General. Because let's face it, most New Brunswickers could care less about politics, they could care less about government. Am I right? It's sad, but it's true. So we always have to try to, I don't want to say educate, but inform people of where their tax dollars are going and the importance of government. So I really tried to get across to people in New Brunswick the importance of the Auditor General. The Auditor General, before we came into town, was the most underfunded Auditor General in the country. Per capita, she had less money than any other auditor. Every province has their own Auditor General. Ours was the poorest, and I don't mean by her salary, I mean the money going into her office to do the job, was the poorest in the country. Thanks to us, we have increased the Auditor General budget from $2 million a year to $3 million a year in the first stage of the legislature. That's no small task when you're trying to get money out of a government that wants to cut at every angle, I can tell you. The second thing we talked about was eliminating corporate welfare. And, I pushed hard to say, how can we justify as a province giving money to places like TD Bank when you have people that are waiting 8 to 10 hours in emergency rooms to see a doctor? How can we justify giving money or potentially giving money to places like Sears Canada, which was on the verge of bankruptcy, when you can't even get a pothole fixed on your local road? Right? And listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't care if every road in the province was paved. I don't care if the average wait time in New Brunswick is 2 minutes. I still don't think Sears and TD should be getting their tax dollars. We've made that very clear to the government. We want to see an elimination of corporate welfare. We want to see a downscaling. And because of the discussions we had with the government pre-budget in the fall, we have seen a reduction to the amount of money that is given to Opportunities New Brunswick. And listen, I support Opportunities New Brunswick in the sense that they should be helping local New Brunswick businesses. Right? Small businesses that are struggling, small businesses that have been here, homegrown, paying their taxes, that need a little hand up once in a while in some type of loan or whatever they can do for people here that need the help. I support that, but I cannot support big corporations getting my tax dollars. So we've seen that decrease, okay, in the budget. That's because of our budget. We talked about banning glyphosate spraying. Right? The last platform we had, we're calling for a ban on glyphosate spraying. Well, I got to give Rick a lot of credit on this one. He's had discussions with the Minister of Energy, pushing that agenda. I don't know if I should say this or not.
Do it. Go ahead.
I love the way Rick and Michelle, and I got to say this too. Michelle had to leave because, as you may have heard, there was an apartment building in Miramichi where I think there was 40 seniors that were emergency evacuated. She had to leave to go make sure those people have a place to stay. So she's going to do that. But Rick has a way of getting attention, and can I tell the story, Rick, about the garbage bin? I can't stop now.
You've already made it though.
Yeah. So, okay, get back to glyphosate. I had a scroll moment. I'll get back. Remind me about the garbage bin, because it's a good one. So Rick had many discussions with the Minister of Energy on glyphosate. As a result, the Minister of Energy has made an announcement that glyphosate spraying will be reduced by 30% on NB power lines and plus watersheds. Right? Is it a complete elimination ban that we want? No. But it's progress. It's a step that we're making because of our lobbying efforts. So getting back to the garbage bin. So there was a gentleman in Rick's riding. Rick's a great constituency guy, a great representative of the riding, that Frederick, New York. So there was a gentleman that his garbage bin got busted. Now don't you guys get all these expectations that you're going to get this, what I'm about to tell you. But his garbage bin got busted up because of the plow truck that went by. And he was an elderly gentleman, and so he called Rick. He said, my garbage bin, anything DTI can do about that? Well, I don't know how he pulled it off, because I don't think I can even do this, but Rick was able to get the Minister of DTI, the Minister of Public Safety, am I correct?
No, sure.
Okay, sorry, okay. The Minister of DTI, Rick himself, and the MLA from Miramichi to go down to this guy's yard and build him a garbage bin at the end of his road. I've never heard of an MLA doing that, getting a minister and two MLAs, they're taking pictures and they're hammering the garbage bin, fixing it all up, but this is the kind of political change that we're talking about. We're talking about getting government back to the people, getting to the things that matter. Can we solve all the world's problems? Can we fix everything that everybody deals with? No, we can't. That's not government's position. But where we can help, where we can fix it, where we can make it better, that's what we need to do. Right? That's what we're here for. So, we saw some reduction on glyphosate spraying. In our campaign platform, we talked about Work Safe New Brunswick premiums, because that is an important component for small businesses. Any small business owners in here? Few? So you know the struggle. You know the struggle with taxes, you know the struggle with regulations, and Work Safe premiums. And now I know the premiums have gone up a little bit, but I've got to tell you, that in previous years, the Liberal government introduced a bill to make changes to WorkSafe New Brunswick. They had the support of the PC opposition at the time in which the bill got passed. That bill was detrimental to businesses because what it essentially did was it was going to cause WorkSafe premiums to absolutely skyrocket. So the high premiums you're paying right now, and I know they're high, they would have been more than doubled. And I'm not trying to say the sky is falling, but if those premiums hadn't gone through, for a lot of small businesses, the sky would have fell on them because they wouldn't have been able to operate with those increased premiums. So we worked with the government in every capacity that we could to make sure that those premiums, and we supported the government in the bill that was presented to make sure those premiums stabilized and that businesses at least have a fighting chance. Now we've got to work to see that the premiums go lower. We want to work to see regulation reduced, red tape. The CFIB, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, has talked a lot about this, that there's been some progress, but not enough. And frankly, folks, I'm getting to a point I'm tired of tinkering. I'm tired of tweaking. I want bold, decisive moves. New Brunswick needs some real change, and we can't just, frig around with it. We've got to make it work with some real decisions. So we're going to keep working this forward. In the platform, you'll clearly read that it talked about changes to the Motor Vehicle Act. And I talked in many town hall meetings about changes to motor vehicle inspections, eliminating the front license plate and one-time vehicle registration. So we presented our very first bill in the legislature on those changes, and as a result, we had some progress. We are going to see the elimination of the front plate, which I know you guys are all aware of because we've got the white ones in the back. And we've also seen changes to motor vehicle inspections. And I know some people have said, well, what about safety? Because this is what the Liberals go on very hard about. And, talk about me having a new daughter and do I dare put her in the van and drive around? Like, give me a break, right? No. Foolishness. So anyway, they go on about safety. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the statistics across the country, and if you look at motor vehicle inspections, you will clearly see that the sticker on your windshield has zero impact on safety. That's a fact. That's why most provinces in Canada, they don't even do them unless you're coming into the province or you're selling or transferring your vehicle. Most don't do vehicle inspections. So what we have done is we've taken a balanced approach, and we said we're going to match Nova Scotia, which does it every 2 years. So in the near future, what's going to happen, because of the bill that we were able to get passed, if you own a vehicle that's 3 years or newer, you will not require a motor vehicle inspection. Thereafter, it will be every 2 years. So you're going to save money, you're going to save time, and it gives you the opportunity to go about your business without government getting in the way of your everyday life. That's what we're able to do. So we had success in that. Now I want to tell you about the one-time vehicle registrations. Marjorie, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Can you give a wave to the folks? This is our researcher in the office. And, she does a lot of work on these files before we're able to get them to the floor of the legislature, but we've got some more staff that's going to be coming in to help her because it's a daunting task to get all these numbers and go through departments and best practices around the country and all that sort of thing. But the one-time vehicle registration was the meat of the bill. I'm not going to lie to you. That's what we really wanted. But I will tell you, I've had conversations with Cabinet and several Cabinet ministers, and we're going to keep pushing this because I'm convinced there's no reason why we have to register vehicles every single year. And through the research that Marjorie's done, discussions that we've had, we have found ways to mitigate the loss of revenue to the province through the carbon tax and through the transfer of 140,000 vehicles, which currently don't pay vehicle registrations, which should. So we can balance it out so that we can present a bill in the fall which says one-time vehicle registrations or something as close to that as possible so that we can save some more money and not be worrying about going to Service New Brunswick to register a car that they already know we own. Right? Boom. And so we've accomplished quite a bit, and all I read about is, all I've done is gotten rid of the front license plate. Yeah. No! We've done much. Matter of fact, the front license plate is so low in the bottom of our list. We've had great accomplishments, and we've only had one session. But see, this is how the media portrays it, and this is what, the opposition is trying to do. So Listen, folks, I just want to say we're continuing to push for these items. We talked about language fairness, right? And I haven't backed down on that. If you see me in the legislature and some of the discussions I've had on the paramedic file, I will say on the floor of the House the same thing I say here. New Brunswick has language policies that are not reasonable. They don't reflect the practicalities on the ground. We have a huge human resource issue in this province. Take language right out of the equation. We don't have enough nurses. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough skilled professionals in the province to work in government. So we already have a human resource problem. Paramedics is another one. When you put language in on top of that and you put requirements that are frankly not necessary, it only makes the problem worse, right? So through our efforts, the paramedic file was a big one for us, and we campaigned on hard in the fall. Because of our lobbying efforts, over 50 unilingual paramedics, including francophone paramedics, okay, that can't speak good English. We have English paramedics that can't speak French, and we have a few francophone paramedics that can't speak English. Because of our efforts, over 50 unilingual paramedics who were before on a casual part-time basis, they couldn't get a mortgage, they couldn't get any credibility in terms of their finances because they were always on a weekly, bi-weekly, thank you, a casual contract, right? So through our efforts, we were able to get over 50 unilingual paramedics permanent full-time work. And I'm not done with the paramedic file. No, I'm not done with that at all. Because you've got advanced care paramedics, which some people have referred to them as kind of emergency room on wheels. They can perform procedures on the road that primary care paramedics can't. And I'll tell you, our primary care paramedics are awesome. And anybody that's ever had to deal with an ambulance and deal with a paramedic and call an ambulance, you know that to be true. 99% of the time they provide excellent care. You always get one bad apple in the bunch, but every organization has it. But I'll tell you, they're great people, they're passionate, they care for people, and they just want to do their job without government interference in their profession. So you've got advanced care paramedics in this province right now. They're like emergency rooms on wheels or similar to that. They can go, they can do procedures which primary care paramedics can't do on the scene. Right now, every advanced care paramedic in the province, it doesn't matter if you're working in St. Quentin or you're working in St. John, every advanced care paramedic has to have a 2+ bilingual requirement. Here's the kicker. Advanced care paramedics, 99% of the time, are second on the scene. They're not even the first on the scene. So the primary care paramedics have already showed up to provide service. They've already done what they can do in their scope of practice. So they radio ahead and they say, we need an advanced care paramedic on the scene now. So they're second on the scene. Well, by that time, either the patient can't talk any language, because maybe they're unconscious, or they've already talked to them and they know which language they're speaking anyway. So this is what I say when I talk, and people say, you're against bilingualism. I'm not against bilingualism. I have no issue with francophones and anglophones receiving service in their language of choice, but I have serious issues with the way government is implemented. And I'll tell you furthermore, when you have private discussions with many people in that legislature, the vast majority of them agree with what we're saying. What they have to do is they have to grow a backbone and actually follow through on what they really believe and what they see to be true. And make things happen, make some moves, have some bold decisions. So we're going to keep pounding away on the paramedic file until we see a reasonable conclusion to how service is rendered through our advanced care paramedics. And we're also talking about reclassification for paramedics. That's another issue. I don't believe they're in the right union. They deserve the leverage of having their own union. And we are continuing to fight for that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the things I just described to you, we've done in about 5 months. 5 months. I've sat through governments over 4 years and scratched my head on what was accomplished. And I can tell you, ladies, and I'm not trying to, this is not an ego trip for Kris Austin. This is to help people understand that we are effective in the legislature. We're doing what we have been voted in to do, and we're going to continue to fight for the people of the province until we see the change that we want to see. I mean, we can't keep going as a province the way we've been going, and these speakers have all declared that, from forestry to education to Dennis, the issues that he talked about. I mean, there's so many issues that are in this province, and if we keep the status quo, nothing will change, and we'll continue to go down this dark road. But I'm so thankful that the first time in 100 years we have an actual legislature that is made up of more than just two parties. See, they can't just cozy along anymore. That option's not there. We're going to make sure that option's not there. And I've done everything in my power. I've done everything in my power. Rick and Michelle, we've done everything in our power to make sure that we provide as much change as we can without triggering an election. How many people want an election?
Next year.
Maybe. But I ask that question around, I tell people, I say, well, do you want an election? Oh, no, we don't want an election. Well, if you don't want an election, that means we have to cooperate with somebody. Would you prefer we cooperate with the Liberals? No! It wouldn't really matter if you wanted me to or not, I wouldn't do it anyway. So you have to cooperate with the government in power. And the only way to do it is you have to have a give and take. You have to say, look, here's the issues that we have. And we'll fight as hard as we can to get as far as we can with each issue. And it's the same thing with them. There's some things that they will try to put a bill forward, and we'll look at the bill and say, I don't think we can fully support this. We like some parts of it, but let's make some tweaks, and let's put it out. And that's how it works. That's called good government. That's what it's called. And that's what we have in New Brunswick today. So I want you folks to be encouraged. I want you to be strengthened in the fact that not only have we broke history, not only is our numbers growing, and despite what the mainstream media will try to portray, I can tell you we are growing, we are gaining in every sense. We're getting things done which the government wouldn't have got done without us. People say, well, the PCs would have done that anyway. I say, are you sure about that?
Yeah, right.
No, really, are you sure about that? Because, right, I mean, we've seen majority governments over decades, and we haven't seen any changes. We haven't seen anything that's concrete that we can say that's really made New Brunswick better, in a sense. No, I want to encourage you folks to keep at it in your support. And I just, we can't quit, right? We got to work harder than we've ever worked in terms of change. We've got to get the message out to people more than ever. I was talking to the band that played last night, one of the guys on the guitar. He talked about, how many of his friends and people in the area that they just don't vote. I said, well, they're exactly what we want. Dennis talked about how there's a huge amount of people, what was it, 100,000, I think he said, or 200,000 that just don't vote. That's what we want. We need those people to vote because they are the change makers. And I can tell you folks, we won't quit. We will work until we see significant change. Healthcare is going to be a major issue. It is a major issue. We've got to find solutions to healthcare. I'm so proud that we've got Dr. Clayton on our board now. That's refreshing. And I know Joe is here, and folks and nurses that are here that support the party. We need solutions. How can we make this work to give people appropriate and good health care? Because that is a big issue. So we're going to continue to work hard, and I know at times some folks can get a little frustrated that we're not as accessible as we used to be. I apologize for that. I sincerely do. But ladies and gentlemen, when you're trying to figure out the legislature, when you're sitting on committees and then you're representing your constituents back home, it can get very daunting at times. And I appreciate your patience with me as a leader, with us in representing you. We have not forgot about you. You are very critical to the success that we've had, the success that we will continue to have. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your support. Thank you.